meeting of City of Delaware Shade Tree Commission. We'll start with roll call, please.
Ms. Brewster?
Here.
Mr. Buck?
Here.
Mr. Carey? Mr. Glissman? Ms. Schaefer? Mr. Wolber?
Here.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Wright?
Here.
Chairman Olin?
Here.
Motion to excuse.
Second.
David. David Carey said he would. Here he comes. He's here. So David Carey just arrived.
Yay.
I move to excuse Mr. Glissman and Ms. Schaefer.
Second. Vote, please.
Ms. Brewster?
Yes.
Mr. Buck?
Yes.
Mr. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolber?
Yes.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Wright?
Yes.
Chairman Olin?
Yes. Okay, next we have the approval of the motion summary for the meeting held October 24th, 2017, as recorded and transcribed.
I move to approve the motion summary from the October 24th, 2017 meeting.
Second.
Vote, please.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Okay,
Second.
thank you. Ms. Brewster?
Yes.
Mr. Buck?
Yes.
Mr. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Wolber?
Yes.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Wright?
Yes.
Chairman Olin?
Yes. Okay, there's not a member of the public here tonight, so we'll move on to item number 4, which is recommendation to the Planning Commission for changes to Chapter 1168, Tree Preservation Regulations of the Planning and Zoning Code. So, Ted, you want to get us started?
Yeah, so I think I've incorporated in red the changes that were talked about in here. I know there was one question about, and I talked to Dave. He couldn't be. Dave is sick this week too, and there's a question about 1168.02 applicability. So basically, this code was written, I believe, in 02 or passed in 02. So basically, what that is saying is kind of what is, I mean, I think we were all interpreting and we thought they're trying to read it deeper than it really was, but basically any single family lot less than 2 acres that existed prior to the day this provision takes effect is exempt from the code that was passed in 02.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's anything really more with that than what it really says. So if there's any other
Is
questions?
there some place that, so if I were just reading this by myself and I wanted to say, okay, what is that date? If I go to the bottom of .02, past 8/12/02, that's the date you're referring to, correct?
Yes, we have to, there's a lot of them passed in 02. There's 8/12/02, like right before 1168/03. There's all those
Correct.
dates.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah,
the very
there's,
first date that's listed.
Yeah, ordinance the 0255
Okay.
passed 5/13/02. 02 is the year, so that I think the 5/13 date is the date that we would go by.
Okay.
And so the other thing, you'll see a lot of red, because one of the things we talked about was something to protect existing trees, and you'll see a lot of red. So I've kind of taken that. I didn't come up with all that language myself. So there's quite a bit there that I don't know if you wanted to reduce that down or.
I just have a question on that. I wanted just to check to make sure with Dave that this is the correct formula that you looked up here, 1 foot per inch diameter DBH. Did you look at this in the middle?
That would be number 3.
Number 3, right in the middle.
I don't have it in front of me. I don't either.
Okay. I think it is. I remember you.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because
Specific question.
when we talked about the last meeting, we talked about how to calculate in a very concrete and objective way that, but just based on simple measurements, how to determine where to put the protective fencing. And at first we talked about drip line, then, well, that's kind of, not real exact. and you looked up on your phone online, and you discovered a formula where you could calculate the radius out from the trunk of the tree based on the diameter of breast height.
It was 1 foot per inch.
One foot.
Okay, I
Um,
honestly don't recall doing that. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were the hero that night.
Okay.
Yeah, you
We
came
were
up with
discussing things about drip line and 6 inches from the drip line, all those kinds of things, and you did this, and you said,
Okay.
It was impressive.
All right.
I just wanted to make
That doesn't
sure.
sound like me. That's what I'm saying. What are you talking about?
No,
Okay.
well,
All
I
right.
just wanted to make sure that that was the one that he came up with that night. As far as your
Yeah, as
notes.
far as I'm concerned, I think so.
Sounds like a reasonable formula.
Well, because I went out and actually took my DVH tape out and measured a few trees and then looked up and it more or less, some of them came a little short, but it seems to be a good, easy to apply formula that
More
gets
precise than
us.
line.
And it's, yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that that was what we were talking about the other night. So I'm good with that. I just wanted to
Sure.
run by.
Okay.
So, wow, you forgot about that? My memory's
Totally.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the only one with a bad memory. Okay, that was my only question about that.
Okay. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know if you guys think that tree protection is too much language, or is it, you all right with that language as it's proposed
I'm
there?
okay with the language. I don't really feel like it's too long.
Okay.
Do questions arise often that you would go to this section?
Well, it's not in there now, so
Yeah, that's true.
It needs to be in there.
Yes, I think because that was one of the talking points we had in this whole discussion was, some of the trees, on a site that are saved, a lot of times the trees look fine after the site's built, but the damage doesn't show up for a year later or 2 years later sometimes.
I do have one more question about this, Ted, and that is just above the last couple sentences above item number 2, talk about protecting the circumference of the tree with 2-inch by 4-inch lumber encircled with wire. I guess it's protecting the trunk, the bark of the tree against incidental contact by large construction equipment. But if you go down to 4, Roman numeral 4, since no vehicular and/or construction equipment, traffic, or parking shall take place within the limits of the critical root zone of any preserved tree, other than on the street or street pavement, then why would, if nothing's going to take place there anyway, then why would you even need this this lumber protection that you're talking
Well,
about?
consider this. Maybe vehicles will not go up to the tree, but I could well envision, a bunch of people with tools, maybe hitting the tree inadvertently or something. So
Okay.
it does not have to be a vehicle per se. It could, you could damage the tree by other means.
Okay. Okay.
Something that overhangs a vehicle or something.
Or a
too.
boom or something
Right.
like that, maybe. Okay. All right. I was just.
I think it's just an
wondering about-
extra precaution, I think, a little bit. It wouldn't
Okay.
be in every situation that you'd go to that measure, but I think in certain ones that might be warranted.
Okay.
In that same section that Paul was just referring to, there's a MA.
That needs to
Okay.
come out. I just noticed that too.
Okay,
I think that MA needs to come out.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions on these revisions? Just to be clear, Ted, when it comes time to incorporate the $100 per inch into the fee schedule, do one of us need to go to the city council meeting? Or are they aware that we have already passed a resolution?
Yes, you've already passed that resolution, and it's in the fee schedule going to the council this month. Or
Thank
next
you.
month. Yep,
Okay.
and I verified that with Darren
Good.
just recently, like I think last week.
Thank you. Okay.
Yep. And that motion, you guys passed that recommendation already, so yeah, everything's good on that. And that'll be something we'll do yearly.
Okay. All right, that's great. Thanks. Any other questions for Ted on these Chapter 1168 details? Well, that was easier than I thought. Okay, I guess we're ready for item number 5, the arborist report.
Well, I think on this, before we move on, Paul, if we could
Oh,
make a motion just to recommend these to the planning commission so they could review them next and add in comments.
Gotcha.
If you guys are all right with that, I'll remove that MA in there.
Yeah, I've got a couple other little typo things, Mark, but I'll just put those on your paper
That'd be
later.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move that we approve the changes to Chapter 1168 of the Tree Preservation Regulations and authorize Ted Miller to forward this on to City Council.
I think our next step will be planning commission.
Planning commission.
Oh, Planning Commission, sorry.
Seconded. Vote, please.
Ms. Brewster?
Yes.
Mr. Buck?
Yes.
Mr. Carey?
Yes.
Mr. Wilbur?
Yes.
Ms. Woodmeek?
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Wright?
Yes.
Chairman Nolan?
Yes. Okay, great. So now we're ready for Doug and the arborist report.
Okay, the tree and stump removals, one large copper tree was removed, it was dead, needed to be taken down, and we took 2 smaller trees out. We did prune 93 trees, most of them were downtown crab apples that we were cleaning up, getting the suckers out of them and getting them away from the buildings. We had our street tree plantings are completed for this fall. We planted 221 trees on the city streets, and it did bring our backlog to 0. So we are caught up.
Wow.
That's
Good
great.
time in years.
We are in the process. We've had them delivered. An additional 100 understory and ornamental trees are going to be planted at Oak Grove Cemetery, utilizing a monetary donation from Mr. William West. Trees were picked to provide color and interest, as well as replace trees that were removed in the cemetery over the last couple of years. Now, these trees won't be planted actually in the cemetery plot areas. They're going to be more or less along the roadways on the outer sides of them. So trees include white and pink dogwoods, eastern redbud, tricolor beech, American hornbeam, rough frost birch, bicolor oak, bald cypress trees, and the crews doing the planting should be completed with it by the end of this week.
Very nice.
Can I ask what the donation was?
It was a $25,000 donation,
Oh, nice.
and we utilized,
Was it all for trees, or was there some other things?
it was all for trees.
Okay.
I met with Mr. West down there earlier this fall, and we drove around the site, and he wanted it all to be used for tree planting, and really looked at, we're going to use some, there's still some of the funds available that we didn't use the full 25,000 this year. We have some available still for some larger trees that when the cemetery master plan is completed, that'll be incorporated into that, where we can plant some larger oak species and some other different types of larger species trees, along with some more understory
Yeah.
trees.
Maybe we could, when we get around to having our Arbor Day celebration in 2018, I can't believe I'm saying 2018, maybe we can recognize him in some way if he's,
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I had the same idea. I was wondering who Mr. West was, and if a thank you note or some kind of recognition would be appropriate. Maybe perhaps even a city proclamation. Maybe it's too much, I don't know.
He used to live here in the city, and his sister still does, I believe, but he lives in Colorado now.
Mhm.
So he also provided the city of Upper Sandusky with a $25,000 donation also for trees.
In a cemetery or street trees?
In a cemetery there also.
Nice.
So fabulous.
Yeah.
You must love trees.
It's inspiring.
He's lived in Colorado so long, he wants to see real trees again.
That's right. Oh, that's great.
We're continuing our pruning project. Actually, we're probably going to step that up here in December and try to get as much as we can get done before winter sets in, and we'll continue to work on it throughout the winter. The Tree City USA application was completed and sent in on Monday of this week, so we'll wait to hear back from them, but I anticipate we'll be named Tree City USA for the 37th consecutive year. Our total dollar was $4.31 per capita spent on city trees.
Oh, what was that number again?
$4.31 per capita.
So does Mr. West's contribution figure into that? Or
I
is that
don't-
just,
It did, because we spent it
yeah,
on trees, so it did.
street trees?
It actually, a lot of it came from the fact that we used the tree fund money to buy all of our backlog trees, and then we had a company plant the trees also, so,
Okay, so those costs were,
yes,
and what's the minimum requirement for
$2.
$2?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so we're
correct.
well above that.
So last year we were 340, 350, I forget exactly. So we went up significantly this year.
Yeah.
Doug, I have a question about the trees that are planted out on Troy Road,
Yes,
out towards Smith. Are those, I didn't stop to look at them, are those some kind of elm?
yes, those are, I believe they're New Horizon elms,
New Horizon?
or they might be Triumph elms.
Did we plant those or did it
We
come?
did.
Oh, okay. Are those going to be mulched?
But we don't typically mulch city
Okay.
trees.
Oh, okay, okay. I was just wondering.
Will those trees planted along the trail? I've not been there. I've not seen.
Yes, they were planted
On
along
one
with,
side only along the trail?
yep,
Okay.
between the road and the trail. And also, we didn't go any further than the curve because that's where the power lines all take off from,
Mhm.
right there at the curve too.
Right.
So,
And they may, my understanding is they may change that curve, straighten the road down the, eventually.
really?
I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of houses going in on there.
A related question, Doug. I saw one of those contractors putting in the trees at or very near the point. It was on Central, not William, because William will be
Right.
rehabbed. But on Central, right at the point, are those trees safe there? Will they have to be removed eventually when they redo Central and when they start working on the point?
as far as I know, there's no concrete plans for the point to be redone. William Street is the only work to be done at this time. So those trees were put back in to replace trees that were removed from there. One of the trees on the corner is, I think it's East Street, maybe, is the first street on Central as you're coming in. That tree is probably on its way, on its downhill side of life. So we did plant a frontier elm pretty close to that one that's going to kind of take that one's place.
Okay. Any other questions for Doug? Okay, good news there. Staff comments.
The only thing I wanted to add is I passed out tonight. We talked about it briefly last time, but this is kind of what we're proposing as the tree dedication policy. And we've kind of gone in the direction where I didn't want to just plant trees out in the parks just to plant trees. Wanted to have locations chosen, and so that when someone donates something, we'll pick a location that best suits, it's best for what's best for the park, what's best for the public and the health. We don't want to just have a tree front and display just because someone donated a tree. I guess we want to take the path where the tree selection and the locations are chosen by the city, and that we have some sustainability that we can, keep this program going. But I also understand that people want that commemorative plaque, so we were looking at that Tree of Life somewhere in like possibly the Mingo Recreation Center, where they could get that plaque and it'll be on public display. But we'll still have the ability to put the tree in the park. And we'd give them a map showing them where that tree actually is, and some type of certificate also. But this is I just kind of wanted to see show you what it kind of looked like. And I've also included the bench donation because I think we're going to kind of do these together a little bit, but just to see so you could see what it would look like and how we were looking at moving forward with this. See if you had any comments on that.
I would just suggest for clarification, your second bullet point under tree donation, tree selection and planting locations are chosen by city personnel based on species. I mean, make it very clear.
Oh, yeah, okay.
If you're saying that we're going to choose a site,
Yeah, that's a good idea. Is there an area that you have in mind to actually reforest, to create a memorial forest?
Like a tree grove? No, we don't.
A memorial grove or?
Yeah, we don't have anything like that. I think we want to put these trees where we need trees in the parks.
Okay.
To fill in voids, or if, trees dying and we need a new tree in this area. This would give us that tool to replace some of those trees and to make the parks a better place.
If someone came to you and said, I want something at Mingo or I want something at Smith Park, you would be able to accommodate that, but
Yes.
you won't be able to accommodate, I want it to go right here.
Yes.
That's what I'm understanding.
We would try to accommodate wherever they would want that tree. We won't guarantee that,
Yeah.
but we give them some choices anyway.
Okay.
On that bench, it says the benches are reinforced steel coated with powder coating.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
That's just our typical bench. It's just that the ones we order right now,
How
they're
big are they? You know?
just the ones you see out there right now. Basically, yeah, like
They're 6 foot.
yeah, we're looking at doing some smaller ones,
Oh.
but we've used some different ones in the parks too. So
I was just curious about the $2,000.
yeah, that's the price of those benches we use right now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Seems high to me, but
Yeah, we don't make any money off of those. That's just the price of that bench that we have right now. Now we may choose a different bench for the parks that is not as high or something, but to get the plaque and everything on there, that's kind of.
But Jim, you do want the benches to last, of course. There is always some kind of vandalism happening in the parks, teenagers, throwing, sticks around or whatever. So, this steel bench makes sense, so that they can last forever.
Hey, any other questions for Ted or comments
I
on
have a
the?
question. The donation period is for the benches lasts 20 years. Are we expecting the benches to be around that long?
Yeah, they can last. And I guess I wanted to focus more on the tree donation portion of this thing, but
I think, my goodness gracious.
yeah, they will last that. Some of them will last that long, and some of them won't. So,
Yeah.
but we wanted to put a timeline on it so people later on down the road will hopefully appreciate this policy anyway. But yeah, they can last that long, and this is that's kind of a typical policy. So a lot of places will do is have that period of time on there so that they can either re-up it, or even if someone's still around that originally donated that plaque. So
Gotcha.
just having that in there, at least that language in there.
So I got a question for you, Ted. One thing I do remember is the last month's meeting. I can go that far back. We were sort of recommending at the time a plaque by the tree, but evidently you chose not to go that way. And I was curious as to why you chose.
Just
not to
because
do
of the
that.
long-term maintenance of those plaques. If we have a plaque on every tree, if we get a rush of people that want to put, like, say if we get 50 people that apply to put a tree in, in a couple of years, that's 50 plaques out in our parks that we've got some out there right now that we probably need to replace. And
Gotcha.
just replacing those over time. Like I said, it's not an issue right now, but over time it could be an issue. And I know this type of policy is typical of what a lot of park districts are doing moving forward, just because this is something they can manage. And this year alone, we've gotten a lot more requests for tree donations in the parks because I don't know whether it's going to be up and down phases, but if it continues, we will end up with a lot of plaques out in our parks. And I don't know if that's the look we want. It might get a little plaque heavy, but also long-term.
Yeah, no,
maintenance.
I could imagine maybe it becoming a bit macabre as well. I mean,
Yeah.
you're out
Like a mini
in a
cemetery.
recreation area
And a lot of
changes
people,
the vibe,
they won't
so.
even put up a plaque. They just kind of, a lot of districts won't even put up a plaque. They'll just kind of have people donate the money and they'll put the tree where the healthiest place that the tree is needed. But I think people really want that plaque and that recognition, that long-term
Somewhere.
recognition. It's kind of a legacy thing. So I wanted to provide that with the tree of life idea. And I think this is something we can manage and sustain.
Okay, no, that's excellent. Thank you.
I would make the suggestion, do you do a Parks and Rec? Is there something that goes out, maybe once a year, say, these have been donated, these
Yes,
tree,
that would be good to put in there.
just, yeah, some sort of public recognition. It will also generate interest for someone who's been thinking about doing it, but they think, oh, well, he did it.
That's a good
maybe I
idea.
should do it. And I think one of the reasons you're seeing an increase is because the parks look so nice and you're really seeing improvements, and that makes you want to be part of the process.
Sometimes I think the dedication policy is kind of cheapened sometimes when the people want to do it just because they get a plaque out there. They really should be doing it to place a tree in the park. That should be their main reason why they want to do this, and I think we put more emphasis on that side of it if we do it this way, but we still offer that plaque.
And having the tree of life concept, I think it would be interesting for people to come in and see who all's on the tree.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
See
it'd
'em
be
all.
like a community thing rather than just an individual thing.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like a tree, and then the leaves will be,
Yes.
I think it sounds really nice.
Yeah, I'm hoping, and then again, I keep coming back to it, but this is something we can sustain over a long time period, I think.
Yeah, I happen to concur with the no plaque policy in the parks. As many of you know, I work for High Wesleyan, which has been around for 175 years. We have literally hundreds of plaques all over campus, everywhere. They get stolen, they're metal. They get vandalized, they get lost, they get flooded, they rust, they fall off. Nobody knows, anything about the history anymore. So it's a total chaos. So in the long run, yes, it would be a nightmare. So it's better to maybe centralize them somewhere and keep of course, good records.
Mhm. The only other thing I wanted to mention is December, our meeting falls on the 26th, I think, which is the day after. We're going to propose canceling that meeting.
We never had a meeting in December.
Yeah, but I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware and that this next meeting would be in January. And that's all I had.
Thanks, Ted. Okay, any member comments tonight?
Two.
All right.
Good. First one, I really like the sound of planting trees because you see decline in another tree. So Doug, that was really cool to hear. That's awesome. Planting seems like a luxury considering where we've been in the past few years, and that's really cool. The second thing, I got a call from Soil and Water Conservation folks about our interest in the pine trees again. And so timing was good. He called yesterday. So I said, well, we got this meeting coming up. So what do we all think? Are we, I think last year it was 300 or 350, something like that. Evidently they're wanting to get ahead on requests and things like that. So make sure they get their orders in.
That's a good idea.
Is it something we're interested in doing again? Do we want to use pine trees? Do we want to pick something else? Have the chance.
I think that it was a good strategy to, again, use events, community events as a forum for handing them out rather than, a school thing. So I think the first Friday, handing them out on the first Friday nearest Arbor Day and probably whatever's left over then maybe at the Watershed Festival again. So 350, is that what we did last year, both of those?
This is 300, I think. 350, something like that. Just White Pines is what we got last year.
I thought we had spruce last year.
We had
Yes.
something different last
Norway,
year.
We had Norway
Norway,
spruce, yeah, we had
Oh,
Norway
did we?
spruce last year.
Okay. Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
I didn't hand any of them out because I was gone on all this time.
Oh,
Oh, that's right.
It was miserable.
That's right. On the
It was,
on the first Friday.
it was brutal on first Friday, but we,
But we gave them all
we gave them
away
away.
at the Watershed Festival. We
Yeah.
had none left.
Okay.
so I think probably the same amount, whatever we had last year. And does anyone have a preference for species? I mean, it'd be, I prefer native species, but Norway spruce are big, beautiful trees. It's hard to argue with.
I was going to
Okay.
pick Canaan fir myself, but just
Big what?
Canaan fir.
Good name.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Is that some kind of ABs?
I think so.
Yeah, it's a balsam.
Okay.
I think
Well-
it's come color, I think.
Do they do okay in high pH soil?
Yeah, they're better than most other firs. Yeah, they have a higher tolerance to heavy soils
Oh, okay.
than most.
Yeah, I don't know
Others
much
in
about
that.
them, so if you like them.
That's how they're promoted. So
Okay, yeah, I'll go with whatever you recommend on that.
now, how do you spell
do you
that,
think?
David? I'm
Or we could
sorry.
do white pines too, or we could probably do spruce. CANAAN.
AAN, okay. All right.
Right?
Yeah, sorry, CANAAN. It is 80s.
Okay. Get that? Okay. I need to Google them. I don't know anything about them. But I agree. An important consideration should be how resilient, that tree is. I think pines and spruce were pretty hardy. But, if kids handle them and they get neglected and not watered, et cetera, it needs to be a pretty robust tree. It shouldn't be, a little sensitive snowflake.
Yeah.
What do you think, Doug? Do you have any opinions one way or the other?
I think the pines are good. People see the green on them, and I think it's more of an interest thing.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Pines or the spruce, either one. If it's green, people
it's green.
think
Okay.
it's alive and doing well.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. That's a good point, Doug. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Anyone else have member comment?
I do. Two things I want to sort of put on the radar for next year. We had discussed earlier having one of our meetings or meeting before our meeting at the greenhouse that you have. So when we talked about it before, it's like there was nothing going on. It was the middle of summer. So maybe March or April, whatever you think would be better. And I know there was a problem because you want to record the meeting. So I would propose meeting out there 30 minutes or 45 minutes before our regular scheduled meeting, if that's permitted.
I mean, I can take a recorder anywhere.
Okay,
I just can't I'm not going to videotape it.
right. So
I don't have that kind of.
I'll just put it out there so we're not trying to make a decision, the month before or the month after or something.
Well,
So-
perhaps we shouldn't call it a meeting then, but simply a tour.
Well,
A tour
if
of the
we're all-
greenhouse and then convene here for the regular meeting. I would be in favor of that.
The April meeting probably would be best to see results of what the greenhouse is doing, because we'll be growing our lilies and we'll be growing our annuals that we grow in-house.
Okay,
Those will be planted and hopefully growing at that point
Yeah,
in time.
yeah.
But
and then the other thing I was going to bring up was I think we should also have on our agenda for next year a thoughtful discussion and a plan for downtown street trees, maybe a gradual replacement now that we are caught up on street trees and we have a full or a healthy tree fund. It might be a good time to talk about that. And eventually, when we have a plan of what we want to propose, then bring Main Street in.
Yeah. Yeah. Does anyone here know Sue Bibler?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe she would like to attend one
We
of our.
could, yeah, she comes to city council meetings all the time. We could probably invite her, and she can introduce herself and we can talk about street issues, tree concerns.
Because
tree
ever,
issues.
ever since I started doing this, for I don't know how many years it's been now, but I always hear complaints from folks from downtown, whatever it's called, the organization.
Main Street, Delaware.
Main Street, Delaware, thank you. And I never see them here, so
They've been here.
have they?
Yeah.
In the last 4 years?
Maybe
Maybe
not,
not.
I don't know.
Okay, okay.
But there were some contentious meetings before, and so we're now in a position where we can be proactive about it and thoughtful and all sit down at the table before the next round of angst occurs.
So do you want her at the January meeting or discussion first?
I think we should have a discussion and then,
Decide then.
yeah.
Susan, are you talking about like the proposing trees in the downtown area?
Since we did the big streetscape program,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's been 20 years, it's probably not been 20, 15. There's been a lot of complaints about the trees that were selected and that Main Street got sort of shut out of that decision-making. They wanted us to replace them now,
Right,
5 years ago or whatever.
right.
We didn't have the money. We were also behind on street tree replacements and we couldn't consider it. So our situation has changed and I think our situation has changed. And I think we should open the discussion. I think it would also be good if we had a managed replacement program so that we weren't chopping down all the trees at once and replacing them, that we were doing every other tree or every third tree, in 3 years, they will all be replaced.
Have a plan.
Have a plan, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And instead of reacting to a crisis,
Yeah.
be proactive
Yeah.
and do it right.
I think that's one of the things Doug and I have talked about is proposing, the species of trees in the downtown area and then getting that plan in place.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something we can start working on. It's not a huge area, so.
So that maybe by next fall, we would be in a position to start, if we did a rotating replacement, we would be ready to start that in the fall.
Good
I think you
idea.
said a couple of months ago that maybe there were some that were going to be replaced anyway, a dead one or two, is that? Downtown?
Everything is alive downtown right now
Okay.
and doing well, so.
Okay.
Wasn't there one in front of the city building that
Yeah,
talked about
we're
because
trying a
the
cherry.
mayor had wanted to do cherries?
Is it because our sister city is? Yes, smart.
Plus, we can try it out and see how it. one
Right,
tree
it's a
does.
good way to test out.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a rough spot where it's at, so it'll be interesting to see how it handles salt and other issues.
So
I think
maybe in
3 years might be
the
enough.
January meeting, we have just our own discussion and Doug's thoughts and Ted's thoughts, and then the next month or the month after, bring in Main Street folks.
That's a good idea.
Should we unearth the working plan that we had from 5 years ago? It was Tom. I know he was a landscape designer. He put something together.
I don't remember that.
Was it Tom?
Not Matt? Matt Simpson?
Matt.
Matt Gibson.
Yeah, it was Matt. Yeah.
Matt Simpson.
Yeah,
Or
Matt. Sorry.
Simpson, or-
Simpson, yeah. He now works for Preservation Parks, yeah.
He does?
Yes.
Oh,
No, I don't.
Matt.
Yeah, yeah. It's not the technology we have, right?
So if we want to start from scratch, that's fine too, but we had something.
Well, we should at
similar.
least look at that and see what plan was and then tweak it if we need to. Let's not redo
Yeah, because
anything.
it would be new for Ted. I know
Where-
that.
Does
where
anyone
is
have a
the
copy of that?
document?
I don't throw anything away.
Okay, if you could send me a copy of that, that'd be great.
I don't know if I have an electronic copy, but I'm sure I got paper lying around somewhere. Okay.
Shade tree records.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll come up with one somewhere.
Good. Yeah, that's a great idea. Get ahead of the curve on this. Any other member comments?
I have one. Doug mentioned road salt. I bumped into my office like a landfill. You know, I never throw anything. Well, I throw a lot of stuff away, but more comes in that I can process. So I happened to find an old article. I may or may not have disseminated that a number of years ago. I'm sorry, Doug, I meant to take that to you. About road salt. It's an older article, but since winter is coming up, road salt is tough on trees. So I simply wanted to share that with you. I'm not making any recommendations here or anything, just for your information.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Paul, I had one more item I forgot. I wanted to mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know you guys, I think it was introduced to you last Feb 2016, the William Street project. So that is moving forward. Right now, we have a set of plans that is, I don't know where they're at, whether they're like 90% right now, but we're reviewing those plans. And, you know, the tree and the trees that will be coming off on William Street. Next, in January, I'd like to have the engineers maybe present that to you. So I think by January, we'll know exactly what that is going to look like at that point. So like I'm having them come and present that and look at that again, because that project's probably going to be kicking off in 2018. And
Oh, yeah, that's
So-
coming up.
yeah, so would have them here now, but they're like I said, they're still getting final comments on
Are
those.
they going to have a
sets.
PowerPoint or something?
Probably, or I know Matt Weber brought exhibits last time and had all the tree counts on there. So we'll bring that in. It may be PowerPoint, it may be a combination of that and boards and stuff. So we'll get that in the packet that goes out in January also. So just could be a little bit time consuming because there's a lot of information to go over in that whole, once that's all finalized.
Okay.
So and you'll probably start seeing some, well, they've done a lot of surveying in this year, and then they want to start construction and probably removing some of those trees probably in the first quarter of 2018. So
I've been real curious. Every time I drive along there, I think, how are they going to do this? Because it's so narrow.
yeah, there's not much space there. And the other problem is there's a lot of side streets that come into it, and your site triangle is affected if you put too many trees in there. So that, you can't replace a lot of the trees, and then the sidewalk and the curb gets down to 18 inches some places. So I'm looking at some alternatives, like, offering it to some of the homeowners if they want to put a tree in their yard behind the sidewalk. Also looking at some mitigation sites too.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we talked about those
Yeah,
alternative
yeah.
options. Okay, so that's coming up January then?
Yep, January meeting.
Okay. Okay, any more member comments? Okay, we're ready for plan reviews then.
So if you want to check those. Sure.
Okay, the first one is the Burr Oak site tree plan. This is off of West Central. This is the Westfield Center Kroger's in here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the other thing is I'm gonna put some pictures in this too. I just put my something back now. I'm just gonna enter
There's
these right
going to
now.
be 3 permanent tree preservation zones at the entrance along the back area of, this is not Locust Curve. Lantern Chase, yes. And then along the, this is the apartment complex area here. And you guys saw the tree count numbers were on the plan.
They getting ready to start construction on that?
As soon as their stamp put on.
This year. Or 2018, I should say.
I really didn't see, I mean, I think anyone that plants a skyline honey locust within 40 feet of a house is, you're out of your mind, but that's what they have all throughout in every one of their front of their homes. And so
Why do you say that? Just
the root systems are,
Oh, the
of
roots.
skyline honey locust is just so aggressive and so destructive to concrete. We do not plant locust anymore.
Does the developer know that? Maybe you should share that information with the developer.
We typically will make the recommendation on the plans to them, and then they can go from there what they want to do.
So since this is
This is all private, there's no,
apartments, it's private streets, they need.
yeah, DMI. I mean, anymore, they're cookie cutter, they, red maple, skyline honey locust, and
Yeah.
I just don't know why.
there are oak trees, there's not any bur oaks, it's small white oaks.
Because of the stamp.
Oh, there's 3 per oak.
I remember when this was initially brought to us. That was the question.
Red on it? Watch out, this is free.
Well, there's nothing invasive, so.
Preservation.
Are they mixing anything up?
Right.
It's always small.
This is dumb. I can't do anything.
Did you set the date on this?
Is this what it's supposed to look like? Today's the 20th?
That's cool. Hopefully they'll live that.
I don't know what month it is. It seems like it's December, middle of December right now, so.
Well, there's more than just, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm just saying though, there's a lot of honey locusts.
This is so stupid. Why we keep connecting?
Okay, well.
It goes in and out.
They got
There's
hectares.
trees. Yeah, that's a nice.
No, I mean, I could probably keep it good.
Native,
Just take that seriously.
prairie pride, yeah, we used to grow there.
Oh, they just were.
Are these guys, the prairie pride, are they resistant to the, what's on that leaf?
Me too, but
Not a delta. They're galls, some kind of gall.
Yeah.
it's pointless. They want us to post it on the server.
But they're cool
They can't ever
trees.
access the server, so they're putting it on this computer.
Any objections? I'm good with this.
Did you want to see the?
How many units are there? Do you know?
So you can see, these are the areas that's going to be tree preserved, staying as a tree reserve. So really, there's just a lot of scrubbing and all that.
Yeah, most of it's invasive. Scrub, too.
Screen. They're gonna do very much over here. The screen. No, looked at.
Yes, I think you're building a mound with evergreens, you know.
They're gonna do something.
Mounting a 30-foot easement.
The residents on the other side have already have, and so there's gonna be a mound, yeah. I think 12 feet high total or something, with the mound and the trees.
Okay, I was just curious about that. That's something I'm sort of sensitive to.
Yeah, it's been an issue at city council, yeah, we discussed it, in detail.
That's a nice aerial.
Yeah,
there.
it's a nice, we should have those for everybody's meetings.
Google it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was.
Cool. As submitted.
This is a new development on the south side of Cheshire Road. It's Glen Ross. Currently, there's homes along here, so this is going to go in behind it. This is Eagle Walk Road, where they just put that roundabout in, working on that roundabout there. It's going to be coming to the south now. We're going to be Pulte Homes is putting it there. What's that?
This isn't where the fire.
No, that's
that down.
way down that
Oh,
way.
oh, oh, okay.
That's your regular diagram you do to keep us in
Yep.
light here. Okay.
Who's in relation to the course?
The golf course is over to the west.
The west.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of nice that the extension lined up with these houses. Increasing the space. So that's interesting. That's a good idea.
They're using a lot of different varieties in these areas also.
The planting control, we were available in the trade.
Yeah.
They say they.
I see it once in a while as younger. Human city streets. The new ones, yeah, the new ones I see are rounded. I don't know if there's a cultivar out there or what, but the leaves are, yeah, the leaves are unmistakable.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I should step back.
Yeah, it is cool to see some of these unusual species included. I've always liked the irregular branching pattern of the catalpas.
Well, the Kentucky
these-
coffee trees are beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
buffer list, right? So this is the buffer.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know that Kentucky pine tree was an unknown list for the street trees, but.
Right, well, and then that's a messy tree too, but a very,
Oh, yeah.
very
Yeah,
cool
for sure.
looking, great flowers. I like the pods, I think it makes it more interesting.
Is it on your fingers?
Okay,
Is that already done?
Let's just have some more of the close-ups of the pond plantings. The buffer zones.
I know. All Cypress.
Can we cross that out?
Well, the other one's,
so it's one-
this next one's got the right.
Liberty?
No, we can't have any looks like parents.
Yeah, we did.
Or
Yeah,
one.
we did.
The last one.
No can do. No can do. I'd rather have.
Well, you can suggest it to them, but they can plant it if they want, because it's in It's on their property, it's not in a right of way.
I would rather have nothing planted.
So who owns this then? Is it the owner?
Pulte Homes developer is the developer of it right now.
But it gets transitioned
You get transitions.
into something else. I mean, if it ends up ultimately being city property.
Which one are you?
Serviceberry,
It
Frontier
looks like,
Home. It's gonna be a very lovely,
Yeah.
I mean, if they all live,
Yeah.
that could be very nice.
we can't keep planting these. I understand the legal consideration, but how can we put it to them as strongly as possible?
I would just say they're promoting the invasive species of calorie pears and
Yeah,
suggest something else for them.
who tells them that? You?
It'll go, when it gets recorded with changes, and that goes back
Okay.
to the developer.
Okay, we strongly discourage any calorie pears planted. I would rather have nothing planted instead of these 6 calorie pears. I'd rather have no trees there than a calorie pear.
But we have the opportunity to recommend.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's recommend
Let's
something.
cross that
I
out and
would-
let them
yeah.
pick the other 5 species and just plant more legally 5.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, these other
And maybe say not recommended or something.
strongly discouraged.
Yeah, I would plant more black ones instead.
Well, I mean, if you look at this plant selection, they've got a seasonal
know
thing
why.
going on, they've got a habit
Invasive.
thing, they've got structure, so I'm sure it'll be easy to come up with another pair, I mean, more ivory silk lilac or.
These will create costs down the road.
Absolutely.
They will create costs to the city down
Mhm. In fact, I was at
the road.
the courthouse.
Plant other species.
As far as looking out, and the only thing of leaves left.
See, they're even that.
And all those pears.
And sure, they were.
That's what they were using
I don't think
for.
they-
Orange and red and burgundy. They dropped one.
They
But
didn't
they're-
mark it for them.
Really obvious this time of year.
I would think that they're trying to use them for something formal. Listed anywhere. Could be on a different, there's more. Oh, there's more. This is more of the signposts and fencing. And then the rest is just the details like those.
All right. You know what? It's been going around. I couldn't even talk last week. Because I was talking to somebody else and they said they had the same thing as that last
It's still not.
that time of year. I'd talk more often, I know.
Actually, it's pretty nice place. I like that. I mean, that's a
Right,
nice to
see.
see different trees.
Yeah.
Recommendation.
We don't have to say, hey, we thought of something.
Have you thought of something else?
Music by Ross approved with recommendations.
Thank you.
Okay.
One of those things that you hold down there.
Yeah.
A genius engineer type guy like you should.
I can do that for you. Pretty cheap too.
So it costs less than $2,000. Probably I doubt that. Okay, we are bringing back the McDonald's for 23 North. They have asked to change out some of the trees. They, instead of using the skyrocket junipers, they want to use emerald green arborvitae. And those are in these areas, right?
I almost parked down for a second.
That's right. Emerald green arborvitae. Against the building, which I would have used those first anyway, but. And then they also wanted to use the bicolor beacon oak and Armstrong wood maple and sun valley maple for these trees.
What's a bicolor beacon? I was gonna say that.
And that's
Is it a white oak?
and those are in place of the high oaks, the skyline high oaks.
Good choice.
What are they related to? What are they? I'm not familiar with these either. Are these like a red oak or a white oak?
This is going to be a white oak of some sort. The beacon part of it could be the way that they wrote this could just be the variety of it.
What's the common name for bicolor? Quercus bicolor? Swamp oak. Okay, gotcha.
Are those going to keep their leaves on through the winter? I'm just curious. It'd be nice to have, you know. That's
The AG.
Those are the autumn gold maples. And they're going to put the beacons along the north side. They're still good. And then those are going to be the Sun Valley maples. Yeah, Sun Valley maples across the road.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's actually about the same size as the other one.
I think today was.
They've taken out the, I think, was there parking from here to make a double lane?
Yeah.
Is there parking along the building?
Yeah.
They're putting a lot of plants in.
186 green gem boxwoods.
Green gem. Those hardy.
Those are going underground.
To the trucks.
Massage parlor.
That's why we're putting it in.
Okay. Yeah, that looks good.
So, yeah, that's what we changed.
I would have probably broken it up a little bit.
Well,
Some
3
taxes
gallon,
or-
3 gallon boxwoods are only gonna be this
Yeah.
big when they go in, and that variety's gonna have a tough time in that reflective heat and all the salt.
Yeah.
And the wind's gonna win through there, so I would feel they're gonna have a hard time making it, you know, getting to the point where a Texas or something probably already been there. I'd like to see boxwood. I'm good with it. Apparently people do, they have a double drive-through.
Everybody uses 295. Wow.
They just be in Ohio, we don't have enough evergreen shrubs. You
No,
know,
we don't.
Texas, Juniper, boxwood, little holly, that's it. It's, yeah, so parts town, that's all they're putting.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it too well. Boxwoods. If you I've got some, I forget which ones I have now, but they're Chicago. Once you get, don't, they should be fun.
Oh, they Chicago, they will.
Maybe change it to that over there. Thanks.
Thanks.
Recommend.
Hopefully the title's approved.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Groovy. Is groovy an option? Because I would use it.
See you in January.